I'm your anchor, Walker Tronkite. Today is April 25th, 1775. Tonight, we will be covering the past 5 years in Bostonian history. But before we begin, here's our weatherman, Dave Matthews.
Thank you, Walker. Today was a hot day, which was good for the Patriot cause, because the British redcoats quickly wore out due to extreme heat, marching north. No one knows quite where they're headed or what their plans are, but they had to take frequent breaks due to dehydration. What's that galloping I hear?
The British are coming! The British are coming! The British are coming!
In 1765, Parliament passed the Quartering and Stamp Act. The Quartering Act has forced us to feed, house, and care for the British soldiers, who are unwanted in our homes. Even more angering was the Stamp Act, causing us to pay ridiculous taxes on legal documents and other important papers that we colonists cannot do without. Parliament has done all of this to raise money for the British military. Housewife Mary Johnson is here with a personal account of these incidents.
Stamp Act has caused a huge struggle for my family. My husband is a shoemaker, and although he makes a comfortable living for myself and our 16 beautiful children, we have not been able to find enough money to pay for my newborn's birth certificate or even my eldest daughter's marriage license. My family was forced to house a filthy redcoat for 9 months. He was rude, impolite, and he ate all of our food. Not once did he ever say thank you or showed any appreciation for the sacrifices we had made for his sake. And he broke my fine china.
On March 5, 1770, the murder of innocent Americans took an indescribable toll on the colonies. This event, known as the Boston Massacre, was started by 2 young boys who aggravated British soldiers. These young boys have agreed to be interviewed about the tragic event. So tell us, George, what happened?
'Twas a snowy day when my dear friend James and I were innocently playing in the snow. I was making an adorable snow angel. As I flapped my snowy wings, a bit of snow was accidentally thrown onto James. James returned it with a playful snowball. He and I began throwing balls of snow at each other, and one accidentally splattered onto a British soldier who was walking past. He was very mad.
Me and my buddy George were aggressively throwing snowballs at each other. So, what you gonna do about it? Yeah, nothing, that's right. So, we were playing around, snowball fell out of the sky, and hit one of them lobster coat backs walking by. I was trying to fight that lobster back, but he shot me out of nowhere in the leg. Right here, see that? Yeah.
Crispus Attucks, one of the leaders of the townsfolk in the Boston Massacre,
Yeah,
was one
my
of the
brother
first to
started the
die.
fight.
Your comment is
But you know what? He was defending himself. Then them redcoats just started shooting everybody, and they killed my brother. Them redcoats are climbing in your windows, snatching your people up, trying to shoot them, so y'all need to hide your kids, hide your wife, and hide your husbands, because they're shooting everybody out here.
Three years after the Boston Massacre, in the year 1773, the British granted the British East India Trading Company a monopoly over the American colony's tea industry. The Americans were upset by this because even though the East India Company had cheap prices, they saw it as a British way of controlling them. In an act of protest, the Sons of Liberty disguised themselves as Indians. They boarded a British ship in the Boston Harbor and smashed open 342 chests of tea and dumped them into the Boston Harbor. Live there to witness and film was a cameraman who obtained an exclusive interview with the Sons of Liberty.
Just kidding. Ladies, I, Eli Young, am a son of liberty, and I'm here to save you from the cruel hands of the British. We have taken the initiative to rebel against the unfair taxes by dumping tea in the harbor. Instead of drinking tea, we'll be drinking coffee. Feel free to join me for a cup of joe anytime.
What could this be? How about some saltwater tea? I'm Billy Hayes, here to amaze you with a new kind of tea, just for you and me. Americans, patriots, fellow Bostonians, come on down to the Boston Harbor. Grab a cup, scoop it up, and drink it up. The scrumptious taste of rebellion. Grab a cup, scoop it up, drink it up. Grab a cup, scoop it up, drink it up. Grab a cup, scoop it up, drink it up.
segment this evening, we will be discussing the most recent example of British tyranny, the Intolerable Acts. Joining us tonight is Joseph Henry, who is sympathetic to the English cause.
Well, Dave, how can you call them intolerable acts? We are citizens of Great Britain, and it is our duty to respect the laws passed by Parliament.
But taxation without representation is wrong, and the closing of the Boston Harbor is an excessive punishment for breaking a law that shouldn't have even existed.
We all know that many citizens, even the ones who live in England, are not directly represented in Parliament, so taxation without representation is a faulty excuse at best. If the so-called Sons of Liberty had respected the regulations that their mother country had put into effect, the harbor would still be open. It was their own foolish mistake that cost them their harbor.
That may be true, but we want to know what our audience thinks. To voice your opinion, write us a letter at 45 Patriot Lane, Boston, Massachusetts. If you make a good point, we might read your letter in our next broadcast.
Mail call! Here's the mail, it never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail. Mail! We just got a letter. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. Wonder who it's from. The letter says, to Steve, from John Mayer. John writes, Dear Steve, I paid for this stamp with a very expensive price because the Stamp Act is dumb. But I wanted to send you a letter anyways because you're my dear friend. And I also wanted to test out the correspondence committee. Let's write John back using our handy-dandy notebook. Dear John, 2 weeks is all it took for me to fall for you. Which is why I wanted to send you a letter using this correspondence committee. Even though I have to pay for a stamp that's very expensive because Parliament passed the dumb Stamp Act, I wanted to write you anyways. After I finish writing this letter, I'll send it in a handy-dandy envelope. Then, I'll put a stamp on it, unfortunately, and I'll send it via the correspondence committee, like you should too. Thank you for watching tonight's segment. Once again, I'm your host, Walker Tronkite, for the Bostonian Report. Thank you, and good night. Thank you for watching tonight's
The Intolerable.
Okay, start over.
How do you say that?
Intolerable acts.
I'm kind of shaky when it comes to this stuff.
What?
Kind of shaky.
Stop it. Stop. Just film. We need to do a good job. Ow.
Tanner Linus texted you.
Tanner Lines?
Sure.
Willie Hayes, here to amaze you with a new